All right, welcome everybody to PB Med Podcast number 10. Brent and I were just arguing about which number it was, but because we split the last one into two, we've made it to double digits. So welcome to number 10. This week we got a lot of interesting stuff. We got a stack of paddles, and it's been a while actually since we've been in here last.
We're back.
Yeah,
absolutely.
It's fun actually. I've really missed. One of the funnest things has now been just podcasts, just talking about stuff. It helps to have Brent. Tell me what's new, man.
Nothing much on my end. You're the one with all the crazy life events and activities going on. Me, trying to find my groove still on, being a quote-unquote paddle reviewer and, still trying to remain a decent pickleball player and, also trying to be a dad and a husband. It's a lot of demands right now.
It is,
but it's also fun, right? These are like good problems to have. So.
Yeah, they are. There's pickleball life, and then there's life.
Exactly.
Tell the viewers. Tell us about your kids.
Yeah. So I have my oldest is 3.5, and my youngest is 15 months now, and they keep me busy, especially the youngest. He does not stop moving. As soon as he wakes up, gone. And he only stops when he naps.
Is he's walking now?
He is.
Okay, yeah.
He's been walking since like 9 months.
That's an early walker.
Yeah, he crawled for like maybe 3 weeks or so, and then was like, all right, I'm walking.
We're good.
Yeah, and ever since then, it's just been 100 miles an hour. He loves getting into everything, like, he loves going into bathrooms and like trying to get in the toilet. He's part dog.
That's
I swear.
What kids do.
Yeah.
And your oldest, did you say they were a boy as well or girl?
Girl.
Girl. Okay, so girl, boy.
Yep. So the oldest is a girl, youngest is a boy. Very different at the same age. So Ellie, my oldest, was very much like reserved and is a good rule follower, and I think that's just true for the eldest child in general. And my youngest is the opposite. He just goes at anything, headlong, jumps off stuff, climbs on stuff. He falls down, he cries for like maybe 5 seconds, and then just keeps
goes.
trucking.
Oh yeah. I wonder if having an older sibling just like motivated him to get going.
I think
that's what I hear anyways.
That's what I hear too, and for us that's been true. He's not talking as much as Ellie was at this age, but he's a lot more like coordinated in the physical hand-eye coordination and whatnot.
The benefits of being a younger sibling, I guess.
You can observe everything that your older one is doing.
Yeah. My son was born since our last podcast, and that's probably, I'd say, the main delay in like the podcast stuff. You can tell I haven't shaved.
And the main reason for Dustin being sleep deprived.
Yeah,
he usually has other reasons, but this one is.
This is I was telling Domus today. I was texting him. It reminds me of being when I was a firefighter, and like I was also a little bit more sleep deprived then, but out of my control. Like just going on calls when they came in at any time for any duration. And that, like last night, I had plans to come in and set up for the podcast, and then I had plans to get up early and hit some of these paddles and do swing weights and twist weights and all this stuff. And then it ended up being like a super tough night, and I've got scratches and I haven't shaved, and such is the life. It's interesting you say that they're different at different ages, because my son is now. It's the 25th, so he's now 19 days old. And I've been kind of like thinking, okay, what was Oakland doing at this age? Like, when is he going to talk to me? Like, when is he going to smile at me? Like,
you got some time.
Like, more importantly, when is he going to like know how to poop better?
Yeah.
Like, that, goodness, man. He's so sweet, though.
Yeah. Just from my experience, like you block out a lot of those like first few weeks, and you don't remember them. I know I was trying to like compare and contrast how Ellie was at a month old versus how Colin was at a month old, and I'm like, I don't remember. You're so sleep deprived and you're just running on fumes, and I think your body after a while, like your brain is just like, that was super stressful. Let's just block that out of memory.
That's so funny how that works. I think parents out there can probably relate, but good heck. Like, I think the first couple weeks of Oakland, my oldest, who's also 3.5, I don't have a strong memory at all. People ask me, like, what was he like? I'm like, I don't know. Like, I was like dying at the time. Like, I had just, Oakland was born 3 days before med school. And we had moved here from Utah and in North Carolina, and we had no family, no support. My wife, who's an all-star, was like taking the load of like childbearing while I started this thing, and everything was just so unhappy and so hard. And yeah, so I think my brain did me a favor and just and as things progress with the new child, it kind of comes back. And I'm like, oh, I remember this. I remember the blowouts.
Yeah.
I remember the crying for,
Indigestion.
like I don't know what's going on, and I've done the feeding, I've done the diapers, I've done the whatever. So anyways,
Well, once they
we're
start
there.
talking, like, relatively well, they also spoil you because they can tell you, oh, my stomach hurts, or oh, my throat hurts, or I don't feel good.
Oh,
Newborn up to like really like 15, 16 months, they really can't tell you.
Yeah, and
what's
I'm just
going
sitting here
on.
like, do you love me back? Like, do you know that I love you? So yes, that's and my last review, if people have seen it, was filmed from home, and that actually turned out well. My editor did an awesome job. I'm like dissecting things on my porch. My B-roll is lacking a little, but bear with me, it'll maybe make a return.
Yeah.
And we got a lot of projects in the future, so time stops for no man or woman.
Or baby.
And you, or baby, no matter the age, you've been playing quite a bit. You played in a tournament, played in a Moneyball.
I
Since
did.
we played last.
I did.
Tell us about it.
Yeah, so it was at a relatively new indoor place. It's just a different location from the main place that we play at, which is Pickles and Play in Chapel Hill.
Oh yeah, that was at the Garner Pickles.
This was at the Garner Pickleball
Okay.
location, which is about a 40-minute drive from my house, maybe 35, 40 minutes from Chapel Hill
It was
location.
beautiful. I went there the other day. We'll circle back. I had to pick something up, but yeah, it's beautiful. It's like on the top of a hill. Kind of.
Yeah, it's nice. And me and my partner RC, we did well. We ended up taking second.
Screw you, RC. I'm just kidding. I know he watches.
We ended up taking second in the men's open Moneyball, or just the open Moneyball, actually, because there was a team of women, badass women there that were trying out for it.
Who was it?
Patience and Mireille?
I'm not sure if I know. Wow.
I may be butchering that name, but
Good for them.
yeah, I think they
Cool.
mostly, I think Patience for sure, I think is mostly out of Raleigh, and maybe Mireille is too, but they've come to the Chapel Hill
Sounds like they're
location a
badass.
couple times.
Okay,
They're good.
Cool. Good for them.
They're good. To go up against a bunch of 5-0 plus guys. They're 5-0 women. Nothing against the women
We've got
players.
some of those
but
around here
we
that
do.
can hang plenty
There's
well
some,
with us. Yeah.
like Komal and Mevish, that I would
They
take
would
over
kick
many
my
of the
ass.
guys.
Yes, they would. They would just kick my ass.
Yeah. So yeah, we came in second. We came in the money there. Played well up until the finals, where we ran into Will and Ryan, very established, pushing 5-5 team, and I didn't play my best, and they were solid. So they took it. They went undefeated on the day, but second place in a 5-0 plus Moneyball, I'll take it.
Yeah. I'd say I know the competition there, and there's a lot of like kind of pro, like qualifier level, pro-ish type level players, like Brent included, that played there. So that was a really good tournament. Any major takeaways from you?
Not really. Besides, I need to be in better shape. And
oh God, don't we all?
well, that's because
Me and you both, I mean.
RC is a lefty, and so that means I have to play the left and do a lot of switching.
Yeah.
And so after a while, that my 38-year-old body is like, look, this is too much running. Okay. And so that can be tough at the end of the day. I prefer to play the right. I know that surprised you when I told you that the other day, because I kind of am naturally more suited to the left.
Yeah.
But I think it's all the like unwinding of stack and just general having to do different formations, having to play the left consistently, because with the lefty you have to get on the left side.
Yeah,
right.
you gotta move.
Like if you're playing with two righties, you can just stay. Right,
Yeah.
like you might not prefer it, but you can stay.
You don't want two backhands in the middle.
You don't
and
want two
RC of players in general, and left-handed players, he's very mobile and he moves very well. He was a pitcher for left-handed pitcher for UNC.
Yeah, I think he did some pro ball as well. I don't know if it was like MLB.
Okay,
but,
confirm RC. That.
We need to confirm that.
It wouldn't surprise me.
I
He's
think he
wildly
did
athletic.
Something with either minor league or
I didn't know that actually.
Yeah.
Oh, okay. All right. Let us know, RC.
Or maybe I'm giving him too many props and he's not that good.
Yeah.
I don't know.
Tell us if Brent's out in left field, RC, or not. But yeah, he's even with his mobility, you do have a lot of movement trying to get to the right side and unwinding stacks.
Yeah.
You know, when playing with a lefty or switching in general.
And he's good about covering that area too. Like if I'm going to play the left, I want it to be with a lefty because they can cover that middle a lot better.
Yeah.
But typically I prefer to be on the right. I played with my trusty Pulse S.
I was going to ask, I think you might have played with the Pulse S, yes?
Yeah, my trusty Pulse S, the reinforced one. It's getting closer to the feel of what my old Pulse S, when it fully broke in, felt like. Still not quite there, especially in the sound. Like it's not nearly as deep as the original Pulse S when it broke in, and I don't think it's quite there on power or pop, but definitely more than stock out of the box. Yeah,
playing with you, as we've played a few times, or at least a couple of times in the last couple of weeks, your placement is still like pristine. Your control seems really good. I remember playing with you with your broken impulse, which was one of the ones that didn't have the fully, enclosed tubules. It wasn't reinforced. It was like playing with an ultimate power paddle, like against you. I was like, whoa, that thing is like a rocket.
Yeah.
And it still seems like if I hadn't seen that then, playing against you with the pulse that you have now, I would think still it was a power paddle. But I remember that the other one was maybe just a little bit more powerful. But you're saying even with the reinforced Pulse S that you have now, it's getting there.
Yeah, it's taken a little longer. So I think after like 8 or 9 hours on my like OG Pulse S, it broke in pretty well, and it was a pretty like immediate over in the sense of like over the course of a 2-hour session, I felt it change from the beginning to the end around that 8 or 9 hour mark. This one's been much more gradual. I think I've got like probably close to 16, 18, maybe even 20 hours on it if you take in the Moneyball event.
Yeah.
And it was a much more gradual break in versus like nothing, and then boom.
Yes.
So, and I think that's what Ivan at Pickleball Apes was kind of going for too.
Yeah.
Just to introduce this kind of slower, less noticeable break in. And I've heard that the S in general, even the OG construction, just broke in either less or it took longer than something like a V.
Yeah,
did.
It seems that way because everybody seems to like report pretty commonly about the V breaking in. And Ivan said that we'll touch a little bit on the Pulse X today, which I've had for a while, and Brent has got his as well. One of the, production level models that Ivan believes that they'll all still break in. It just takes more time.
Yeah,
and which is an interesting break in. We'll use that term loosely, but is an interesting concept for me.
Yeah. Rumor is he's working on something that might be out of the box stock, closer to what a broken in pulse feels like.
He keeps teasing that.
He does.
He hasn't told me what it is yet.
Teasing in Discord, like I'm working on it.
He's a very mystery-ish guy.
He's an enigma.
Yeah, and that brings me to another question I was going to ask. So, I don't believe, and I'll correct myself if I'm wrong here, but I don't think that Pickleball Apes is planning on paying the UPA certification fees, right?
Yeah,
and
I don't think so.
The PPA North Carolina is coming up. Brent's planning on doing the pro qualifier, and knowing him and his partner, I would be surprised if they didn't make the
okay. Now you're putting a lot of
pro
pressure
tournament,
on us.
And if he is, we can laugh at him. But if he does, so he'll need a UPA certified paddle, and I don't think that the Pickleball Apes is going to be one.
All my favorite paddles are not UPA certified, which puts me in a real
what's your front runner?
Pickle, pun intended.
So we've got a few at least options. Are you leaning towards any particular UPA certified paddle right now?
If you'd asked me 4 days ago, I would have said the Franklin C45 is like hands down like, oh yeah, this is it. This is what I'm going to do. And I hit with it again over the weekend, and I wasn't as impressed. But that could just be like I didn't play with it until near the end of a 2-3 hour playing session, and I may have just been tired and was hitting some off-center shots. And I think that's probably what it was. It just felt different to me over the weekend, which is the second or third time I hit it versus the first time that I hit it.
Yeah, that's interesting. I kind of thought you would love it, considering its shape and the paddles that you typically like. But we did have some other, good or seemingly good paddles that had come in. The Proton, which is going to be dual certified. We had the Engage Pursuit Pro1. I think the Pro1 6.0 is dual certified or UPA certified. There's some others. But if it's not the Franklin, is there another, or are we back to the drawing board?
Potentially the Paddle Tech, the TKO CX.
Yeah.
Probably the
Still
12.7, probably. Other
The
than
CX,
that,
the elongated handle one? Interesting.
The C is a little too short for me.
Yeah.
I think
Brent likes his two-handers.
I do, and I think we talked about it.
They're okay.
I don't have the backhand two-hand roll right now, but I have two-handed backhand on pretty much everything else, like counters and drives.
Yeah, they're pretty sick.
That's direct transfer from long-time tennis.
Yeah.
But yeah, like my hands, like the palms are kind of wide, and so like when I put two hands on a paddle, I need a lot of space. It doesn't necessarily have to be a long grip. It just needs to have clearance for two hands. And the C, I'm looking at it right now on the wall, it doesn't quite have the clearance that I need to put comfortably two hands on it, because I don't like my hands to overlap.
Are you okay with the finger up?
Yeah,
like
I do the finger up. Yeah.
Okay.
I just hate for my fingers to overlap. And so some people are fine with that. They'll overlap their hands.
Yeah, I don't.
It feels really weird to me.
Yeah, I don't overlap like golf or whatever. Yeah, no, I'm okay with the fingers up, but either I'm going one hand for everything, or I'm one finger up. Even if it's a long handle, I go one finger up, which is just the way that I like to, like, the leverage of the paddle. Yeah. It's just kind of what I'm
And
used
it's
to.
just more, your routine to, like, any paddle, no matter the handle length, you're going to have that finger up.
Okay, so our paddle techs are in the lead for...
Paddle tech, I'm going to try out the Franklin a few more
UPA
times,
thing.
for sure.
Yeah.
Because I did really like it the first time I hit it.
Okay.
I think it's because I hit it late in the day, and because I had hit much softer feeling or more forgiving feeling paddles before it for like an hour and a half, and then I went to it and it felt a little jarring.
Yeah, interesting. Yeah, maybe just to make this its own little segment, I'll say if I had to pick a UPA paddle choice, I'd pick the Franklin C45.
You were playing well with it the other day.
I really like
drilling.
it. Thanks. I was kicking ass, yeah.
I got bagged at least twice, if not three times.
It's hard not to
from
hit.
Just a full send from Dustin at the kitchen.
Not the greatest shots, but when it comes off fast and poppy like that, it's hard to resist hitting those shots. Yeah. I mean, you can see anybody who watches pro pickleball and you've seen, Hayden Patrick play. That's what he does, and
and I wouldn't classify how you bagged me a couple of times. That's like step back, full send. It was more like you did put a lot of heat on it, and it was probably going out. I just couldn't get out of the way. And I think I got tagged like chest, right shoulder a couple of times.
What he's saying is they were perfect shots.
I mean, they were. You won the point.
That would probably be the one I'd have to go with.
Yeah.
And we'll get into that a little bit with our paddles today. And that might be a good segue. Let me see if I have any other non paddle topics I was going to bring up before we do that. Oh yeah, Brent and I are playing in a league. We're in Bull City Pickleball League.
The Bull City Pickleball League. Just what is this going to be? Season 3?
It is season 3, the best of all seasons. I mean, and in all reality, like I'm sure it was a lot of fun before and it was great, but the season that they have coming up is looking pretty freaking.
They had
stacked,
some marquee commitments to this league.
Colin Chick is playing in it, like Drew Sandry, Ryan Gilbert,
the pickleball doctor Noah Sarabin,
that's
AKA Ben Johns' physical therapist.
Yep, Matt Nesbitt, who's on the UNC pickleball team and national championship team. Just a number of other players we could mention that are all well above like 5.0 level at or above. I think if I just like the players that they posted on their Instagram, which you could look Bull City Pickleball League. If you look at the dupers of all the people posted that they've announced, I would be surprised if I wasn't the lowest duper on there, which I think I'm like a 4.8.
You may
on
be the
my
lowest.
Actual duper. Skill-wise, I'm way up there. But no, duper, I'm probably the lowest one they've posted. And that just kind of says, like, this is going to be a fun league.
I think
it's going to be a good time.
I think before they posted you, I think the lowest duper was like a 5.15 or a 5.2.
Are you serious?
Before that, yeah. I think.
This means that my duper will go up no matter what. That's my takeaway from this.
I know, I'm kind of scared of what it's going to do to mine, honestly. Like, I'm just hoping it just stays the same.
Brent's duper number is just coming
You're just
this way.
Steal all
the
my
side
duper.
of this table is just...
Because it's all about like who drafts you and what team you end up on and your partner, and because it is a draft format. It's you have 50 people declare for the draft and captain's pick, and you just kind of end up where you end up. And it could be on a team that you have a lot of chemistry with, or it could be on a team that you don't.
I could have to play with you. I play well against you, but not with you. I think it's going to be a lot of fun. It's like one night a week. It starts mid-March, so I should have time.
Go follow them on Instagram.
Yeah,
so you can
follow me.
See
it's
all the
be
updates.
Really cool, actually. Like some of the highest level pickleball you'll see.
I just want to be on.
It's a really good league.
I just want to be on Colin Schick's team. Like that's what I want. I don't want to play against him per se.
I want to play against him for sure.
Just
like
to see.
I want those dupers. And like since I play the right and Brent plays the right, like I want to be across from him just to experience it. And I've played against him before since we both go to UNC, and we're both in UNC med school. But it's been a little bit.
Yeah.
I mean,
that was before he made his big run professionally,
yeah, I'm like
right?
barely behind him probably.
Yeah, totally.
As far as that goes.
Yeah, you're definitely right in the same league.
We're in the same league, skill-wise, right?
Yeah, you'll be playing with Jack Sock next.
That's right. I should respond back to his text.
Don't ghost Jack Sock like that.
Sorry, Jack. I'll respond back to you. Okay, so we got a number of paddles. We've got the Engage. We've got 4 Engage paddles. We'll get into that. We got the Franklin C45, the Proton Flamingo. We got the unMarked Alpha, the Marked Pickleball unMarked Alpha. Maybe just a couple of thoughts on the Yola Pro 4, not the Gen 4. They really wanted to call it the Pro 4. And like shoes and flex weight. So it's actually a really cool thing as far as gear wise. And we'll probably be a little bit more brief in the past by necessity. My son's in daycare and we gotta pick him up.
We had a goal in time and we're quickly approaching that goal and we haven't even started.
It's easy to talk when you're talking easy. But okay, let's start with I actually wanted to ask Brent, what of all the paddles, so we've got 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9, 10, 11-ish. So at least 10. What was your favorite paddle of our stack this week?
It's this kind of the same answer I gave about the Franklin earlier. If you'd asked me 5 days ago, it was the Franklin C45. However,
this is the C45.
It's a really good paddle.
It is a really good paddle.
However, after hitting them all, I fell in love with the Marked Pickleball unMarked paddle. This is Brent's favorite. It's just my jam. I don't know if we want to go into like specifics right now, but this, I didn't have really high expectations for this, just based on like the description of it and what is in there. But man, for my game, for what I like, it felt the best of all those paddles.
And no offense to Mark, but I actually feel the same. I didn't really. I was like,
no offense.
Okay, it looks kind of. I mean, it's if you like that, that's fine. But it looks plain. And the construction is like so. It's we'll get into this.
Yeah.
We'll cover it in its own thing. But I was kind of not wildly excited to play with it. To be fair, and. But then when we drilled, I beat Brent in every single drill that we played with.
Well, if you only watch Dustin's clips, it's just him winning.
That is the benefit of being the editor of your social media posts. But no, I was really impressed with this paddle too. Okay, cool. So that's your favorite. So this is the unMarked Alpha by Marked Pickleball.
Yeah.
Brent's favorite of the week. And then my favorite, I'll say, is I'm still liking the Franklin C45. I was really surprised. So everyone keeps talking about, I don't know if I gave it a good view or not. Here's the view. Everyone keeps talking about how it needs so much weight. And I would agree it probably does, but I played my first 3 games with it stock because I always will play the first game stock just to know. And I liked it so much I just kept playing with it. And I was playing really well. And I was like, all right, I'll put some weight on here. And I probably was just having a good day. So I wanted to add 0.5 gram, tungsten per inch around the perimeter just to kind of incrementally go up because that's what everyone says they're doing is like half gram per inch or 2 grams or 1 gram or whatever. But I didn't have any and I was in a rush, so I did just 1 gram per inch. And I actually really like it. I think
you wrapped it all the way around?
Yeah, I wrapped it all the way around. Right now I'm playing with it with 1 gram per inch. Tungsten tape around the whole entire face. And it was much more plush than I expected. A 14 millimeter paddle to be, and I didn't think I was going to be able to control it well. A lot of time power paddles or paddles that have a lot of pop, I have a hard time really dialing in, my control. I have to like swing, like chop swing, like swing low, but I felt pretty well with it. Yeah, we'll get into more of the details, but I'll say that's probably my favorite of the week. And then my second, which is a close second, is the unMarked Alpha.
Yeah.
I'll say that's such a
nowhere.
good paddle. Yeah,
Thing is nice.
It's a shocker. It's the dark horse of today, and any day. It's going to be a good paddle. It's going to make a lot of people happy if you're okay with the green.
I like the white lime.
You like
kind of gradient there, because I think they have a black one too that's like black right here and green.
That's true. Yeah,
up
yeah.
there.
They do have you're right. You're right. They do have a different gradient.
I like it, man. I like the minimalist thing. It's just like, what paddle is that? And don't worry about it. Just try to get the ball back.
It's my paddle. Kick your ass with it.
Exactly.
Cool. Well, we'll get into some details there. Let's talk about some paddles, and I think we had talked about a vague order. Let's just go ahead and let's start with the C45 then.
Sure.
So
let's do it.
This has got your rounded, arrow top, and
it's a hybrid length.
Yeah, it's hybrid length. It's 14 millimeters, which I keep having to remind myself, because when construction keeps changing on these paddles, the feel changes a lot between Gen 2, Gen 3, Gen 1, Gen 4, which there's not a lot of Gen 4s out there, if you want to call it whatever. But so just based off feel, you can't always categorize it. Yeah. And so when I'm playing with it, I have to remind myself, okay, 14 millimeter paddle. It's much more plush than I expected for a 14 millimeter paddle. My first impression, literally in the first couple of points, was that it was, just in my opinion, a better version of the Paddletech TKO 12.7 millimeter CX.
Yeah, I remember you texting me that.
Yeah, I was like, whoa.
And that was unweighted.
Yeah,
right?
and that was stock, because the CX... It's funny because that's your paddle of choice for UPA tournaments
potentially,
right now.
yeah.
And that's the paddle I like the least of the Paddletech, TKO line. That the difference to me is that the CX, which is the longer handle of the thinner version, is much more dead up around the top, the top of the paddle, which I hit a lot. Even at my awesome skill level, I hit off center.
At your 6.0 skill level,
that's right.
Yeah,
yeah, even at. Enough said. I hit off center quite a bit. I think it's a little, the Franklin 14 millimeter is a little bit more forgiving than that. It was much more plush than I expected, and it's wildly fast. So I truthfully haven't measured the stock weight and swing weight of mine yet, but it's really light. It's really light stock. It can handle any weight you want to put on it. And it's got, the handle is narrow. And I haven't taken off the handle yet, but I'm going to imagine, based off of how it feels, it's probably a fully molded handle.
Yeah, it feels nice.
If not, whatever it is, it's as good as a fully molded handle. Yeah. And Ryan at Franklin is sending me a second one. He's shipping it out today, he said.
So you can cut one
I'm going to cut it open. And for everybody who wants to know what it looks like in there, I'm going to show you. And I'm going to tear that thing apart.
Are the brands just going to automatically send you three paddles now? One for me, one for you,
and one
to go to the paddle graveyard?
Yes, exactly. I have started asking because people want to see it.
Yeah.
I think the secrets are... People don't want to have the secrets of construction, and people want to know, like, what is the devil in the details of what's going to make this paddle stand out. So
yeah.
Surprisingly, what's that?
And it's not like you're revealing brand secrets either, because like once the paddle is out in the wild, anybody can cut it open and inspect it and do whatever they want to do. So.
I will say, some brands have been really hesitant about sending me paddles, knowing I'm going to cut them open, or like sending me extras, and I'm like, if you don't, I'm going to cut it open anyway, so you might as well just send it. Like, just send it. I'll buy my own if you don't, because people want to know.
Yeah.
But as far as the C45 in particular, I do know that it's got some unique aspects to it. They thermoform it, is my understanding, and I could be proved wrong, that they thermoform it in a sheet, and then they cut it out, and then they cut it again with the machine to make room for the double edge foam layers. They add those, then they thermoform it again. But the layers, they're not closed cell and then open cell. Like you've got your EVA foam in the middle and then edge guard foam, like most Gen 3s have. It's 2 layers of closed cell foam, which is a little bit more dense, a little bit more durable. Okay. To my understanding, limited understanding. I'll say I'm not an engineer, but
we need Justin to weigh in.
Yeah, and prove me wrong, Justin, if I'm wrong on that. But it's supposed I'll cut it up and see, but apparently the precision is supposed to be a little bit higher. Okay. And I have noticed over the few sessions I've played with it so far that it breaks in a little, so it gets a little bit more of that thud, boom, 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 Gen 3 sound.
Yours did sound more Gen 3 than mine did. Yeah. Because you had put more time on it.
Yeah, and I'll say it's probably like coming up as one of my favorite paddles right now. It lists for over $200.
Yeah,
it's
like
mid 200s.
Yeah.
And then with codes, so you can use the PBMed discount code. It goes down to like low 200s, I'll say. There's a rarity of paddles that I think are worth that.
Yeah.
It's got to be something. And I think if durability, that's the question mark here, which we don't know yet.
It always is with these like Gen 3 type paddles.
Anything that has like extra foam in it, you don't know. Unless the whole thing is foam. If the durability remains true and this lasts a good deal of time, I think that this is a paddle that'll be worth it. But tell me your experience.
Yeah.
With the C45 Silver.
Kind of a tale of two experiences for me, actually. First, I don't know how you hit it without weight and thought it was good.
That seems to be the common opinion.
It wasn't terrible with no weight, but mine came in at 7.6. That's almost a full ounce under what I typically play with. I typically weight mine up to somewhere in the range of like 8.3 to 8.6, depending on the specific paddle. So when I got it, I did hit it for like... not even a game. It was like a few points, and I was like, "Oh,
like,
this is harsh." Let me, because I do enjoy a more plush feeling, less feedback type paddle.
Interesting.
So I did.
If you look at Brent's paddles, the paddles, the ball spread of where the ball hits, it's very wide. Brent should probably drill a little bit more.
Oh, yeah, totally.
It's very off-center, so I'm not surprised that Brent's feedback from hitting off-center shots is poor. But go on, Brent, after you've reinforced your paddle.
I think Dustin's confusing my wear pattern on paddles with his own.
Looks pretty good.
I should have brought my Marked pickleball paddle in, because it looks...
The whole thing is dusty.
It looks very different than Dustin's.
That's Brent's. That's Brent's.
Yeah. So yeah, I added weight, mainly like for a few reasons, right? There was some harsh feedback that I really wasn't a fan of, because it is a 14 millimeter paddle after all. It has foam, but it is a 14 millimeter paddle. And also the swing weight is so light. I was way early on like counters and flicks. They'd end up going, typically if you get sped up into the triangle rule, is it goes back. Like if I get sped up this way, it goes back that way.
Yeah. It was
they
like
were going
back
they were going behind the person and out, because I was so early on it. So I needed to add some weight, especially up in this area, to increase the swing weight a good bit. And so what I did was I pretty much almost kind of like what you did. I put 1 gram per inch weight from like here up to around like
show it forward for the camera.
Around the like 3 o'clock
below
position.
The curvature up to the mid
three, and then like this corner up here. So it's like I did like a 4-corner approach, but
Brent
this
stole
corner,
my setup again. Okay.
This corner was longer, pretty much. It went higher up into like the 3 and 9 position, and then it stopped to here, and then there was the upper corners. I may still play around with that, because it didn't feel as good to me the second day that I hit it for some reason. But I do like it, and it is still probably my top contender for UPA certified paddle right now. I think
besides the paddle tech.
Besides the paddle tech,
okay.
Because what you mentioned about the paddle tech of it feeling like dead around here, because yes, I do have a tight like ball dust and wear pattern, but it tends to be up in this area. So anything that gets dead, pretty much where that Franklin is written, anything that gets dead right there, I hit a good bit of balls.
Yeah, you got to, especially at a hybrid shape when it's just a touch less length. Yeah. So any extra help might be nice.
Yeah. So that's where the paddle tech kind of falls off for me, is anything that's not like kind of right in the center and maybe just a little high on the center. Tends to really drop off because it's not thermoformed. It's that Gen 1 construction or 1.5. So this is still the leading contender. I think in the coming weeks before PPA, I just need to kind of try to dial it in and get the feel right and get the weighting right. With it coming in so light, I have to do a lot of different like variations with the lead and tungsten setup to kind of get what feels right. But as far as like power and pop, it's nice. Like I don't know where you would put it on like a power pop standpoint. I think the pop is really
the
really good. Here. Pop is definitely like in that power category of paddles, and with a decent amount of weight, I feel like the power is pretty close to the power category. I'd say it's like creeping up on the Paddle Tech Bantam TKO. and maybe it will be even more once if it fully breaks in, or if it continues to break in. You might have a different experience, since yours seems, at least it sounds like it's more broken in.
So what happens when you hit hard, Brent?
Yes, yeah. Maybe I need to just hit the gym and start working out,
That's right. Us dads need to both.
Yeah.
No, I think that's a good point. So I watched, an interesting thing for viewers everywhere, and this is true across all paddles. So I was just kind of listening to some other people's thoughts on this, and David from Tickle My Pickle made a great point. And this is just so relevant to all paddles these days. When he said, and sorry, David, if I'm quoting you wrong, but hitting with the Franklin C45, so it has that thud like Gen 3 sound. It feels and sounds very aggressive, like on pops. And it is. I think the pop is high, but I think the sound and the feel and the familiarity of what is typically a very powerful response is high in the C45. Whereas if you hit with the Carbon True Foams, or even kind of the Proton Flamingos or the Pulse S's, you don't get that feedback in both terms of feel and sound. And so you're inclined to think on the more muted side that you're not getting the power you are. And here, you get the perception that, based on sound and feel, that you're hitting really hard.
Yeah.
And I think, I do think that that's accurate in terms of pop. I don't think it's wild. I think it's like maybe mid-level power pop.
Not now. Like, I don't know what it's going to be like in a month of
we'll see.
use.
Time will tell for that. I think drive power is bordering all court and power. Yeah. So with weight, I think it's very sufficient for me. But the shining moments, the shining aspects of this for me really are pop and maneuverability. It's so lightning fast in the hands. And I think the narrow handle really contributes a lot to that, being able to move it around, as opposed to maybe like the paddle techs or engages. Yeah. It's so wieldable. Yeah. That the pop and the ability to move and counter quick and whatever. Pop is high, power is, like it's the lower end of power maybe, but it's kind of right there.
Yeah, weighted up, I think it's close to a TKO, like 12.7 power. Weighted up to over 8 ounces, I would say, but still not crazy power.
So just plan on, if you get it, put a little weight on it.
And it has room. It comes in light, and the swing weight is low, so it has room for customization.
Yeah, I think if I were to pick, so the Yola Pro 4, not Gen 4, but Pro 4, they're calling it, is going to be like a lead paddle for me in terms of power paddles, and I only say that just knowing what its construction is. Those should be here in the next couple of days for us. So granted, I don't know. I could be surprised and think they suck. But we'll see.
That could be the UPA winner for me. Yeah, the UPA certified.
Yeah, that's going to be the next question mark. So we'll have those for next podcast. But if we take those out of account, my leading choice for UPA power paddles right now are going to be the Franklin C45 and the paddle techs. And I think the benefits for viewers in terms of the paddle techs are that they're durable. Yeah. And they have a great warranty. So the Gen 1 construction means you have a really minimal chance of core crushing, right? And that's just the staple, is like you want a paddle that's going to last.
And if you do, it's going to be a long time.
Yeah, exactly. And it's so rare. I mean, it will happen, but it's so rare. The C45s, I do think they play better. Maybe just a touch less poppy. They're a little more pleasant. The sweet spot's a little better. And they do need more weight. It's a 14 millimeter paddle. But the question mark on the C45s is durability, and time will tell. And if I keep liking it the way that I do, and if I end up maining it, then I'll be able to report it. And so we'll talk about that on subsequent podcasts. But
just when we were drilling the other day, and you were trying the Engage, the Mark, you were trying all the paddles that we're talking about pretty much now. This one, the balls came off the hottest.
You think so?
Yeah, from you to me, I think you bagged me the most. Like, you might have bagged me 3 times. At least 2 were from the Franklin.
Is that it? Is that how many times?
I don't know. I mean, you may have won the battle, but I won the war most of the time on those.
We're not going to get into that. We're not going to get into that.
But yeah, I would say that that was definitely the hardest hitting, being across the net from you at the kitchen. Like, once you're back at the baseline, it's hard to feel overpowered from anybody, really. But at the kitchen line, at the kitchen line, this one, you could rocket some balls, and I couldn't get out of the way.
Cool. Well, thanks for that, Brent. That sounds great. These restock on, I think they're restocking on March 5th. Supposedly, this is supposed to have a good amount of inventory. So you can use the channel's PUN discount code, get a discount on these. I think most people will be really happy for them.
I think so. And kudos to a big manufacturer putting out a hybrid paddle. Thank you for that.
Yeah, Brent loves hybrid paddles.
I too. I used to be elongated only, and I still like elongated paddles, but a 16.35 inch hybrid with this arrow curve top, that's my jam too these days.
I do love this paddle. It's a friendly shaped towel. So.
Yeah, it is.
Okay, should we do the Proton next?
Yep, let's go Proton. The Flamingo.
Okay. Yes, we finally got our hands on a Flamingo. Let me see if I can get some good lining.
That's a nice grip color, man. That looks sick.
Yeah, this is the 𝑳𝒊𝒏 purple. I know there's so I like the ultra tacky grips, and they're purple. Actually, I was like, let's see how the purple works on the Proton. So
team dry grip here. Team very sweaty man.
Boo,
dry grip.
Boo. Really grippy team. But no, we got the Flamingo here. It's a Gen 3. It's actually really interesting. So not a lot of people have reviewed it yet. Yeah. If you look at X-rays of it, it's got 2 layers of edge foam, but an interesting thing that I noted just looking at other X-rays of it is that the 2 layers of edge foam are actually very thin relative to other Gen 3 paddles. And I don't know what that's going to mean in terms of durability or how it plays.
Like the actual channel, the foam channel
is
like
thin? The inner and outer channel, like it's not very wide.
Okay.
Like if you look at the Honolulu paddles or YOLO paddles or even like the single channel from the 11624 power paddles, these seem a little bit more narrow to me.
Okay.
And again, I'm open to being, maybe my recollection is off, but I don't know what that's going to mean in terms of durability and how it plays after a break-in. But anyways, this is Proton's Gen 3 paddle. I love the look. I'll say that. So Pickleball Central sent us these. They sent one for Brent, one for myself, and an extra one to cut open. So
they sent you an extra one to cut open?
They did send me one to cut open because they're like, cut it open and show people.
Wow.
Show them. So if this kind of passes that initial, play test type hurdle, then I'll go to the effort of cutting it open because it is quite hard. But it is fun. One benefit I'll say, even just up front, Pickleball Central does have a really good 30-day return policy. So anyone who wants to try it, you can get it and use it all the way, like as much as you want, smash the shit out of it for 30 days, and you can, return it back as long as you're within that window. So there's that.
Maybe not like wrap it around the net post or
anything.
I
mean, like don't bash it on things. Sure. Okay, there's limits. And then kind of the counter downside of it is that it is well over $200. I believe it's like $275-ish, somewhere right there. The channel's discount code through Pickleball Central takes it to like $250, if I'm remembering right. Then I'll correct myself on the overlay if I'm wrong. But a paddle of that price needs to be counterbalanced by either playability or like warranty or something that's going to make it worth that value.
You got to have a reason to justify that price.
Yeah, $250 or whatever. And I mean, it's got the look. But outside of that,
slick looking.
I've played 2 sessions with mine so far. So
Same.
whatever break-in it's had, I do not believe it's occurred yet. Tell me, let's have you start with this one, Brent. Tell me what you think your experience with the Proton Flamingo has been so far.
Yeah, so I honestly didn't know what to expect out of this paddle. There's been a lot of hype around it. You've got some of the top pros playing with it, like Andre.
He's been tearing it up, man.
Yes, he's been playing well.
I think that generates a lot of buzz with these paddles. It is important. Yeah. It is. Like with the C45 even, Hayden's been doing really well. So. And US before too, though. So.
That's true, yeah.
Go on.
But yeah, I didn't know what to expect. It's definitely on the radar for me since it is a UPA USAP dual certified paddle.
It's got the stamp even right there if you can see it.
The new stamp. And it's cool looking. So that was also a draw for me.
Yep.
And it's elongated, which I tend to go after and be more comfortable with. So the first time that we hit it was actually our drill session last week.
I did really well. Against Brent.
He keeps saying that, but like
I did not do
there's
really
no video
well
evidence
Brent.
of this.
It's
only the selectively edited.
It's hard to find highlights of me in that drill session, but go on, Brent.
So yeah, again, didn't know what to expect. It was from the first hit. I was like, oh, that's more plush and forgiving than I was thinking it was going to be. It's not super plush. It's not a Luxe or a Jelly Bean or anything like that.
It's not Gen 1.
Right.
Yeah.
But it was more forgiving and plush than I thought it was going to be, which is what I tend to prefer anyways. And so out of the box, I felt like I had good control with it, good spin with it. I was hitting, the hybrid drop drives pretty easily, like with minimal effort. I didn't have to change my stroke really to do that. So it felt more like almost control oriented to me right out of the box. With no weight, just stock. It was, to me, it felt like all court to all court leaning control, honestly, power wise out of the box.
Yeah.
And as I play with it more over the course of a couple of days, I think I have maybe like 2-3 hours on it now. It did start feeling more powerful and more poppy to me. And so I don't hold that it's all court leaning control anymore. It feels more, right now at least, more all court to all court leaning power.
Okay.
The playability was good as far as like the plushness and the forgiveness. I will say it felt heavy swing weight wise to me. I was playing with that, the unMarked, and it's not really a fair comparison, but the Franklin C45 that has a super low swing weight, and the Proton felt like definitively the most sluggish at the net, I would say.
Okay, interesting. Yeah.
But I thought it was, from my limited playtime with it and it not being likely fully broken in.
Yeah.
It's hard to give a definitive answer on like what it plays like, but it is a very solid paddle. Nothing really stood out to me yet, though, is the thing. Like, it's not super powerful. It's not super poppy. It's not super spinny. It does all those things reasonably well.
Yeah.
But for the price point and where it is currently as far as like break-in, I was kind of on it.
I think I agree. I think I would say that if you were to like put a black face on all of these paddles and all the paddles I ever test, if I were to grab this paddle and play with it, I'd be like, this is a good paddle. Yeah. But it's not, I can't say that it stands out in any particular way without the break-in. So I think if I were to just put one summary statement on this thing, I would say, out of the box stock, this is a good $150 paddle. It's not a $250 paddle. I do not think so. But so you're going to have to put in the work to get the break-in, which I haven't done yet. So I think we'll have to return and report.
I think so too. I think it's only fair because, that is
a lot of paddles play like that.
Yeah, that is a pretty common feedback that we get on this Flamingo, is that there is a break-in period. So by no means is this my final take on the Flamingo. It's just my take after 2 hours of playing.
Exactly. Yeah, and I think we played with like 5, 6, maybe even 7 paddles and several shapes of those paddles on that same day. This probably fell third in my personal favorites of the day. Yeah. And I agree with you. I was thinking that it probably falls like all courtish, non-broken in. Now I'm gonna hope, if I hold out hope for this paddle, it's that it has a break-in that makes it do something awesome. Yeah. And if it does do something awesome, then maybe for the right person it'd be worth the money. Yeah. It's hard for me to say that it is right now. Yeah. To be totally fair. I think they have a good warranty, system at Pickleball Central, and they've got the 30-day trial period. So if you try and don't like it, you can always turn it back. Yeah. But you're not going to know this paddle playing with its stock. I feel like that's probably the case. And I remember when we played, we drilled. We walked off the court, and you said it feels very muted. Like the vibrations are very minimal. He's like, it's almost pulse-like, not as much as the pulse, but pulse-like. Yeah. And that's something I personally don't notice a lot. I have to consciously think of that. I notice like spin, power, pop. The feel is like something I just kind of like block out in my head, and I have to consciously think of that. But since you said that, I've noticed, it is a little bit more dampening, which is nice for some people, for an elongated paddle. I didn't feel like mine was super heavy per se, but I'll throw the swing weights and twist weights on the screen if I've got them, and if not, then
maybe I just have wimpy wrists and forearms.
Maybe Brent does need to exercise.
Maybe I do need to get in the gym. I will say the sweet spot felt nice. And I think that's just the forgiving nature of it too. Like, it could be that the sweet spot is on the larger side, or it could just be that it's forgiving on off-center shots, or it could be that I don't hit off-center shots. So,
Yeah, poor Brent doesn't even know what it feels like off the edge, but I think I would call this an all-court paddle. Non-broken in.
Right now.
We'll see what the break-in happens and if it becomes a power paddle broken in, but then you'd have to go through the work and effort and time of becoming a power paddle, of breaking it in. So if you're a person who wants to like play with it a couple of sessions and like make a decision, this is not going to be that.
Yeah.
You're going to put the time in to break it in and then know what it feels like after that. And then durability is, again, a question mark that we don't know right now.
Yeah, it doesn't play like a true foam, but it's almost the same advice we gave for people that got a true foam. Was like, don't judge it by its first or even second playtime. You kind of got to get used to it because it's a different feel. This one's not really a different feel. I just think you got to work the paddle in.
Yep, you do.
See what it feels like after a few hours.
Yeah, and unfortunately, they're not super common in the wild yet. So I was reaching out to locals to see if I could snag one that somebody had, but I haven't had anybody that I know that has one.
Yeah.
It's super surprising. A lot of roadrunners out there, but these are too new, so
I think we're going to have to do
it ourselves.
We're on the opposite side of the country to have a lot of Protons in the wild. I think, like if we were in Arizona or somewhere, I think there'd be a lot more.
Yeah, because that's where they're out of, I believe, right? Yeah, they do a lot of softball stuff and whatever in Arizona. So I think I'm holding out hope for it.
Me too.
But I think it needs a return.
Just
we need a return and report.
Yeah, just from what I've heard of other like higher level people like on the forums, like I think it will get better if you're looking for more power and pop.
Yep. And then the next question after that, if it gets better, does it get better? And then how long does it last? So we'll see.
And is it worth the price?
Right.
So many good questions.
Still question marks. So we'll see what we get in the future. Let's go now to the Pulse X, which is right up, Brent and I's alley. I've talked about this one time before. Because I got mine a long time ago. There was only a few at the time that I got mine, and I love the Pulse so much that I begged Ivan to send me the X. And Brent mains the Pulse S.
For now.
And so that's the hybrid version. So they've got the Pulse V, which is the hybrid. This is the Pulse... Oh, no. Sorry. Pulse V, which is the wide body. That's the square one. It's probably on my wall somewhere.
It's
I don't
there,
know.
cut open, I think.
Yeah, there's
the E.
There's a cut open one. There's a non cut open one. I've got several Pulses around here. This is the X. It's elongated. There's the S, which is the hybrid version. That's the one that Brent mains. There's also the E, which is elongated, but it's extra elongated.
Super elongated.
Yeah, it's very elongated. It's a little bit head heavy, so I don't think it's super popular. I've never seen one.
Yeah, more of a niche paddle.
Yeah, I've never seen one other than the one that I cut open.
Yeah.
But I do see V's and S's in the wild. The X is now very typical 16.5, 7.5 type dimensions.
Squared top.
Yeah, when I got mine, my feedback for Ivan was like, I love this paddle. It's my favorite one. It surpassed the V for me, even non-broken in, which I was maining the V for several months. But that probably most people would prefer a lower swing weight.
Yeah.
You've hit mine, and now you got one of the newer ones. We haven't measured the swing weight of yours yet, but based off of your playability from mine and yours, what do you feel like any differences in between mine and yours, swing weights? Tell me what your take is.
Your original one that you got?
Yeah, versus this one here. Do you feel like they made any lowerings on swing weights?
Maybe slightly. Maybe. It still feels a little heavy for my personal liking. Like I would still guess it's pushing 120.
It's right around 120.
If not 120, 121.
Yeah.
Without weight.
To be fair, that's not bad for an elongated paddle. I just think like people are wanting like, hey, give me something light. Like high to mid-teens. Mid-teens would be crazy for elongated, but like high teens.
I feel like if you get
weight it up.
Yeah, I feel like if you get in the high teens, it's gonna come pretty low twist weight and low.
You're gonna need like narrow stuff and low stability. Yeah. So you're gonna. I mean, really, I think I want something. My personal preference is above 120, but the general public is probably lower than 120 and weighted up if you want, which I think is kind of your preference.
Yeah, that's kind of where I end up usually, is somewhere, because I add weight to almost every paddle. So I probably end up somewhere in the high teens, like 118 to 121 or 2 is probably where I end up, depending on the paddle shape.
Yeah.
But yeah, that I think they may have decreased it a couple points.
Yeah, I'd say that. I think feeling yours, it feels a touch lighter. Not a huge amount, but a touch. Since getting my X originally, Brent and I have both got some flick weights, which I think are nice.
Yeah.
Mine currently has a flick weight on it, and those are, reminiscent. They're little coins you put on the bottom here. I actually think that 𝒖𝒓 has these, little coins you put on the bottom there, but the original 𝒖𝒓 caps are the things that you You take off the butt cap of your handle and you put a new butt cap on. It adds weight to kind of, if you think of it as a fulcrum, right? It adds weight this way so that it makes it less head heavy, which is great for elongated, heavier paddles. It's just a lot of work.
Yeah. And it's a commitment, too.
Yeah, it is. I talked to Dustin. He's like, I used a slice cap once on one of my, paddles and it ended up kind of tearing up the handle. And he's like, so I didn't like them. But the coins are much better.
They're much more approachable to, like, if you just want to try out a weight in the handle, you can just stick it on. Yeah.
So I've been experimenting with the flick weights, and maybe we'll touch on those in a little bit. But I think the Pulse X is a great example of a paddle that would be good for.
Yeah.
With the longer handle and the counterbalance measure. But even that, it's not like, I don't want it to sound like it's a crazy heavy paddle per se.
No, it's not.
It's not. It's just, if you're trying to make the optimal elongated paddle, maybe people want it lighter. But I think the main takeaway that I've got so far, I don't know why. I genuinely do not know why. It's the most springy of all the Pulse paddles. Like, the feel of off the face is still so pleasant. So every time I pull it out, I'm like, almost kind of like tormented pulling it out, because I'm like, oh, I really like how this feels. Like, but I've been liking some of these newer paddles. It feels so pleasant. But the X is much more springy. Yeah. Like, it just kind of pops a little more, has a little bit more power. Maybe it's a shape thing. Maybe it's a reinforcement thing, because these will all come with the overlapped carbon fiber tubules that come around the edge. So maybe like that, the spring from the tubule that wraps around the face is a little bit more springy. I don't know.
Yeah, I don't know either, because I had the OG Pulse S, and then I have the reinforced Pulse S, and this one, compared to those, I agree, it has a slightly more springy feel. It's nothing crazy, right? It's just in Pulse standards, if you look at the whole line, minus the E. I have not hit the E, so I don't have really any feedback on the E.
This is heavy.
But of the Pulse line, like, it does feel the most springy and powerful out of the box.
Yeah. God, it's so strange. I don't understand why. And all the Pulse series, I'll say, it's my understanding that all the pulses going forward will be reinforced, so that initial, pop or sudden, easy to get break in is going to be difficult to acquire these days. Yeah. So if you were an original Pulse V buyer, that, broken in, super powerful, whatever V that you get after a couple of sessions is going to be hard to come by these days. This is the power paddle of the Pulse series.
Yeah.
For me.
If we're just talking non-broken in, if that's what we're basing our comparison on, I agree with that. It does have the most power and pop, maybe not pop, but it has the most power potential for me. I don't know, what would you compare this pop, the Pulse X, versus the Pulse V?
We're talking non-broken in or broken in?
Let's go non-broken in.
Definitely this is higher.
Higher? Okay.
Definitely this is higher for me. And which is strange, because a lot of the times the wide bodies, I feel like they get a little bit more of a symmetrical trampoline effect, where sometimes they get a little bit more like springiness to them. Yeah, yeah. But then sometimes it's like that narrow face nature to kind of like recoil a little faster. And then maybe that combined with whatever they've changed in the tubules, I'd love to cut one of these open. Ivan, send me a damn Pulse V, an extra Pulse X.
We don't want to sacrifice any of the ones we play with.
Damn it. I was something about it makes it a little bit more springy. So I think it is non-broken in, the poppiest of all the Pulses, I'll say. So you just have to be able to wield a 120-ish swing weight paddle. And this is going to be just an ultimate control, maybe control is great. I'd say like border of power and all court.
That's where I was
somewhere gonna put it. Right there.
I was going to put an all court leaning power. It almost kind of feels like, from a power and pop perspective, it feels almost where my reinforced Pulse S is right now after 15 plus hours of play on it. Like, the reinforced Pulse S with 15 hours of play feels a little softer than this one that hasn't like experienced more of that break-in. But as far as power and pop, they feel very similar.
So here's the question I need to know.
Yeah.
And that I've been wondering for a while.
Yeah.
With what I believe about the Pulse X and with how much you've loved the Pulse S, why haven't you switched from the Pulse S to this?
So for me, the Pulse S plays so close to an elongated arrow top paddle, because it's like 16.4 inches long. Yeah. It's so close.
And it's kind of narrow. It's not 7.5. It's like...
Yeah.
It's a little narrower.
It kind of combined what I like about hybrid and elongated together, and just create, like, I don't know how it ended up being this way, but like it just kind of created what feels like the perfect paddle for me.
Yeah.
So I appreciate the more maneuverable nature of the S, because it has that arrow curve. It's a little, I mean, 0.1 shorter, but it's still shorter. And it feels still a little more forgiving. That could just be because it's more broken in. And I think I am more liking the increased maneuverability that I get, because the swing weight stock is lower, and I don't know. That's
so what you're saying is you like that it's quicker, the S, the hybrid version. You like that it's a little faster. You can add weight to it. Yours is broken in.
Yeah.
Right? If you were to break in a pulse X, would you switch between
Maybe.
broken in pulse S and X?
Because when I put the flick weight on it, and I guess we'll talk about flick weights more, it did make the X feel more, I don't know if you like, palatable to me. Like it felt a little more maneuverable. It could have just been in my head. It could have been actually because there is a 9.
You seem slow to me. I'm just kidding.
It seems like that 9 gram flick weight did provide a little bit of relief from what I was feeling in that, at least the feel of it being a high swing weight paddle.
Kind of counteracts the head heaviness to make it a little less heavy.
Yeah.
Okay.
So maybe, right? Like if this breaks in and has that more softer feel of the S, maybe. But the S plays so much like just the arrow top elongated paddle that I don't know if it's
you get the fast.
You do.
Offset.
Yeah, I don't know if it's worth it.
And Brent has put in the time to really break his in.
Yeah.
So people who play a session or 2 or 3 or 4 or whatever with them, again, that's an example of a paddle that you need to put in a good, solid dozen sessions, realistically.
With the reinforced version.
Yeah, with the reinforced versions to get where it's going to land.
I did not particularly care for the reinforced Pulse S the first hour to 2 that I was hitting with it. It just, because I was coming from a broken in one, it felt so different.
That's so interesting
to me.
Yeah,
but
so
I kept playing with it, and it slowly,
you gotta wade the waters.
It slowly started to become that familiar feeling of just the perfect balance to me of maneuverability, power, and control.
So interesting. Okay. Well, the Pulse X, so this is supposed to release mid-March sometime. I haven't got a solid date. I know that there was a very small launch that happened already. So some people have this, non-reviewers have this. Be interesting to hear your thoughts if you guys agree with us on our take here. But it's supposed to launch sometime in March. BB-Man makes the price come to $180, which compared to a lot of what the rest of the market is I think is a very fair price for this very unique feeling. Plush paddle.
The foam and pants.
It's my favorite Pulse paddle so far.
Yeah, so I'm still sticking with the S right now, but they're
we'll see what happens
very good
time
paddles
with Brent. Okay, let's move on to the next one. You ready?
Yep.
So let's do. Maybe it makes the most sense.
Mark over here. I don't know.
Okay, yeah, let's do the Mark.
Yeah,
Mark's fine. Yeah, let's do the Mark. So this is
dark horse.
Yeah, this, man, what a wildly surprising paddle this is. So
sure.
This is the Mark Pickleball unMarked Alpha. So and you know, true to its name, it's not got a very
unmarked
wild design. Yeah, it's got some like kind of a fade color scheme on the side. It's got unmarked, whatever. It'll come in white and like a black, you know, fade into the green as their new brand kind of color scheme is. It's large cell, so it's 10 millimeter cell. Most paddles have an 8 millimeter cell, which is, you know, the larger the cell size, the more plush and absorbent typically a paddle will feel. The more like recoil, like absorb and recoil paddle feels. The more small it is, so like if 8 is standard, 6 is small and dense, like the Neonic Flare Prime X, the more full a paddle feels, the more like, you know, dense. And these feel more like, you know, an Engage or a Paddle Tech or a Vatic, where they have an absorbent, you know, like the way I think about it, and this is kind of funny, but like a plunger, you know, like if you have a large toilet plunger.
Okay, yeah, I'm excited to see where this goes.
If you have like a large toilet plunger, you could think like it's kind of easy to make it plunge down.
Okay.
But if you have a small one, and even if you have 2 small ones that take up the same space as a large one, it takes more effort to make them
to like flatten them.
Yeah, exactly. More of a dense feel, more of a strong feel. Whereas the larger one might feel a little bit more soft, a little bit more like
Sure.
And that's kind of what, to me, a large cell size feels like. So that's what the Mark, you know, unmarked paddle is. And for what it looks like, it's kind of a generic, large, like enlarged shape with a large cell size. I wasn't excited about it, but it plays felt crazy good.
It felt like it was going to be a very like in the NBA program we called them like Me Too products, which is like, oh, I do this too. I am a thermoform CFC
I am also
layup.
A thing. Yes, it's like a catalog paddle is kind of what and maybe it is. I don't know. If there's a number of others that are this that I don't know of, I do not know them. But it's a Gen 2 thermoform paddle with a large cell size, and it feels very pleasant. This was a close second of all the paddles that we tested on this podcast today. And I think I probably played, I don't know, it might have been comparable. All the drills that Brent and I were doing with it.
Where Dustin was owning
I beat Brent in all of them. But it control is super good, and plow through power is high. Pop is not crazy high. Pop is like all chordish pop.
Yep.
But it has a very pleasant feel. The handle is super solid. There is nothing to complain about, in my opinion. Nothing to complain about this paddle.
The price point helps us not have many complaints about it either.
Yeah, I think it lists at like 170 something, and then if I remember right, the discount code PBMed brings it down to like 150, high 150s.
158, I think.
158 with PBMed, which is, true to Mark Pickleball's kind of thing they've done in the past. We're having like reasonably priced paddles that perform well. I think a lot of people who would purchase this paddle would appreciate its playability, where it's plush feeling. It drives good on plow through drive power. There's plenty of room for two hands for people like Brent who use a two-handed. I don't even have to put one hand up to get two hands on this. It's just very good. The pop is not high. If you like a crisp pop, maybe not it for you. If you like ultra high maneuverability, maybe not it for you. It's like, I don't know, for an elongated paddle, maybe middle of the road. I'm gonna guess like maybe 120, maybe a touch lower, I guess, on swing weight. I don't know.
I would have thought a little lower, like 118.
Don't trust Brent.
No,
Brent's a new reviewer.
Every time I'm like, "Hey Dustin, what's the swing weight on this X paddle?" And I'm like, "I think it's like 119." He's like, "Oh, it's 122."
I'm gonna put this on the screen. I'm gonna test it and see if this is the first time you've beat me. Brent's like 0-4.
I am. I mean, I should be. You've been doing this for a long time. I'm going to say 118 on that one.
It feels very good for me, though.
Yeah.
As a person who believes in the mantra of, like, going as heavy as you can handle, this feels good. And I don't think I wouldn't characterize it as a heavy paddle, but I haven't needed to add weight for it to feel stable and pleasant.
Right.
So this is going to be a very happy paddle for a lot of people. And this was, like you said, Brent, this was your favorite of all of today's paddles. Is that right?
It was.
Yeah.
I mean, the Franklin C45 is, they teeter, right? Depending on the day that you ask me, it would have been the Franklin as my number one. But playing with them multiple times, I prefer the unMarked the best because it checks all the boxes that I enjoy. It has a plush feel. It's forgiving. It's not super heavy, static, or swing weight. It has a decent sweet spot. The thing I was noticing the most playing with it in a game versus drilling is it agrees with my drives very well in the sense that I could really let my wrists like follow and snap through on a drive, and that ball would go that far over the net with a ton of spin.
Yeah.
Most times. I think I sent it down the middle 2 or 3 times between John and Perry. Got wrecked right down the middle.
Eat it, John and Perry.
From some forehand drives with this paddle, and it just felt so good. Dustin's right. The pop, not quite there. So if you're wanting a really poppy paddle, this probably isn't the one for you. I don't think it's going to break in and change much either.
Yeah, I don't.
Given that it doesn't have, I don't think it has foam or anything in it.
It probably
Besides,
does
like,
consider,
just the edge.
just the edge foam. It's not double layered.
Right.
I haven't cut it open, but it's Gen 2, so it should have at least one layer, and then it's thermoformed.
Yeah.
So
it has that fiberglass layer,
change, but it shouldn't have a significant break-in. I wouldn't imagine.
Yeah, it's a CFC layup. I'm pretty sure. So it has that fiberglass middle layer, so you can get that extra pop when you really swing through. If you're on a drive, like I was saying, it just my swing mechanics on the drive really agree with this paddle. But the pop, I did get outgunned a couple times. I'll give Perry props.
Yeah.
Perry outgunned me a couple times with the pop on it. So that
You're
would be
gonna get
my
what's coming to you, Perry.
that will be my only knock. But it's always a give and take, right? Like if you want a plush, forgiving paddle, they typically aren't super high pop.
You can't have it all the time.
Yeah. It's give and take. But
I could main this paddle.
I could too. Like I wish it was. I mean, I understand that it's not UPA approved and why
Yeah.
a smaller brand wouldn't go UPA, but I wish it was. I would totally
Yeah.
use it in the PPA
Sounds like
coming
this
up.
could answer your UPA question if it was UPA approved.
It would absolutely. Like I would
Yeah.
love to play with that because it just is right up my alley.
Yeah, I think this is Mark Pickleball's best paddle. Considering they had, I forget the names of their, they had the Slayer, which was, they've always done super budget paddles, like very friendly consumer paddles in the past. This is my favorite that they've had so far. So good for you.
Yeah,
Mark.
I haven't hit their other
This
paddles.
cool shit. I hope it's popular. I think
too.
it deserves it. It's not flashy, but it gets the job done in a very pleasant way. I really enjoyed playing with it.
Yeah,
and I agree with everything you said.
Yeah, I think for the price point and what it does well, like it's not the top end of power or pop. It's not the low end of control. It's just kind of right in the middle.
Yeah.
I'd say the power is more that all court leaning power, and the pop is probably all court.
Yeah,
maybe.
Yep. It's not. Yeah, it's not control. It's not power.
So yeah, it doesn't do anything like extraordinarily well, but it just does a lot well.
Yeah, agreed. Solid paddle, solid price. People are going to be happy.
I think so.
It's just not flashy.
Yeah,
But
I'm
that's
totally
fine.
keeping
That's
that
fine.
and playing some non-PPA tournaments with it.
All right, next let's look at. So I already dropped a review of these, but you've hit them as well. So these are the Spartus Apex paddles. I'm holding up the one that I cut open. This is the Orion. So these are Spartus's next budget paddle that they have here. They're Gen 1. They use like a barrier I knew that I've never actually seen before, kind of gel reinforcement. Did you watch my review?
I did.
Yeah. So they use you can see them here. Maybe you can see it. They call it the failing system.
Yeah.
It's like hardened gel, reminiscent of like kind of a Paddletech-ish type design. Paddletech uses putty, but these actually use a hard gel that was really hard to get out. Gen 1 construction, very plush feeling, $80 for the next 60 days type paddle. I think they were good for the price. I'll say that maybe if I just take my take on them, they were a little bit more control-ish, maybe control / on the border of control and all court leaning. Very plush feeling, very pleasant. The face was ultra textured.
Oh,
So
yeah. Mine were too.
the spin was super good, yeah. So this is in kind of the same ballpark as, maybe like the jelly beans in terms of price. Jelly beans and like the 6-0 quartz perhaps, and like some of those other roundabout $100 paddles. And this makes their own kind of mark as a unique, black core, fully molded handle, quality budget paddle in that type of realm. What did you think of these two paddles? There's the Orion, which is the elongated, and the Odyssey, which is hybrid, right? Tell me what you thought of these.
I mostly hit the elongated with the close to 6-inch grip.
Yeah, it's a
on it.
very long handle. That's the one I've cut open here, and even cutting it open, you can see like I do not have to lay any fingers up if I want, and if I don't, it's like very whippy.
Honestly, like I didn't put a ton of time into these. Like you put for sure more hitting sessions in with those, but I was very pleasantly surprised given the price point of how well they played. Like they play above their asking price is what I'd say. Like if you're in the market for just an entry level paddle and you don't want to drop a lot of money on it, this is a solid choice. And that bucket really of $100 to like around about $100 paddles that are really good value is getting pretty full.
I love that.
I do too.
I love that that's getting full.
You can see brands are really pushing for putting out good paddles at a good price. They're targeting that $100 segment, which I think is super smart.
This is super cool. Yeah, I love that, and I agree. I think
I did like the elongated more.
Did you?
Yeah, just because it had more power and plow through. Because like you said, neither one had a ton of power. They're more control oriented.
Yep.
So to get the shots that I was wanting, I typically would be able to get that from the elongated version versus the hybrid. The hybrid didn't have quite enough power or pop for my style of play.
The leverage in the long handle of the Orion was very fun. I liked the Odyssey, which is the hybrid version actually, because I think they both benefited a lot from weight. And the Orion, just for me personally, I hold... It's just a habit I picked up when I had tennis elbow, and also because I have a harder time with control. Maybe it's because I test a lot of paddles. I hang my pinky finger off the end on my right hand most of the time. And so that means I'm holding clear out on the end of the paddle, which is fine. It's really fun for the long handle of the Orion to be very whippy.
Yeah.
But that means that I feel swing weight very, very sensitively on longer handled paddles. So because I thought they both played better with weight, when I weighted up the Orion, it started to feel a bit heavy, to the point that, like, if I wanted to weight it up enough to get the power that I personally wanted, it was getting a little bit too heavy. The Odyssey, I think I had a little bit more wiggle room on that. But that is probably subject to the user of what they want, right? Like, if you don't want an ultra powerful, ultra poppy paddle, it doesn't really matter that much. I think, they have a pleasant feel. If you want an all-court paddle, it's easy to modify both of these to get into that all-court level. You know, they have it, so it's I believe it's CFC, so carbon fiber, fiberglass, carbon fiber. So there's a little pop to it. I think they have more pop than like the 11624 jelly beans.
I would say that.
You know, I detailed it a little bit more in my review, but if for people, maybe like more advanced players who are looking for like paddle tech paddles, you know, super poppy, you know, 3S type paddles, these are not even close to that.
Right.
These are really good for their price. Any entry-level player who's like, what can I get for a great price? For sure this. Even like average, you know, even 4-0-ish players are like, a good all-court paddle at a budget? Very good. But you're going to be left wanting a little bit, I think, if you want a power or poppy paddle.
I think as you go up in level and as you go up in like wanting more power and pop, you're gonna I feel like you'll outgrow these paddles, but that's what they're for. They're for like either the beginner player that's just dipping their toe in, or a more intermediate player that's like, I don't want to drop $150 on a paddle and I need a new one every 2 or 3 months because the grit wears out or whatever. Like, this one could perform well even for intermediate to slightly advanced players.
Yeah, agreed. Yeah, it's great for the price. I cut this open and went into great detail. It ended up being like a 10-minute long review, and I thought that it was going to be really quick, but the dissection took like over 4 minutes. I was like, oh wow, like there was just so many interesting things. They've innovated a lot in the construction of a Gen 1 paddle. So good for you, I think, for doing what they did and making an $80 paddle for the next. I'll put the link below, but they're doing it through Amazon. I think that's for the first 60 days.
Really smart as well.
It's good for a lot of people. Returns, you know, orders, inventory is all super good. It's weird for me because I don't even know like who's buying this paddle. Like, I don't know what's going on with it. I put the link and I'm just like, all right, well, buy it if you want. I have no idea.
And it makes sense too if they're targeting, if their audience is the entry level player. They're not, the entry level player that just started is not going to know to go directly to a product's website to order it from there, or maybe they don't even know that Pickleball Central exists. You know, they're just going to be on Amazon looking for pickleball paddle, and this is going to pop up. So I think that's really smart from a business perspective.
Yeah, and on Amazon, not sure that I can't think of a paddle I think is better than this on Amazon.
Not that I know of. Maybe maybe go to Alibaba and get the moo.
The knockoffs. There might be some knockoffs they cut up there. So, okay, let's change gears then. So, and by the way, this is the Odyssey. This is the hybrid one. But okay, now really changing gears. So we've got the Engage paddle. So this was interesting. So Brent and I, for our testing purposes, we don't always get 2 sets of them really quick. So we use the same indoor facility a lot of the time. We kept these at our Pickles and Play location here, and the owner, not to his fault, thought they were his and took them home. And he lives like an hour and a half away. And then here in North Carolina, we do not get snow much. And then right after he took them home, we got a snowstorm, and they don't have the infrastructure to plow roads.
This is the South. We don't do snow.
They don't do that here.
No.
Yeah, I'm from Utah. We do that there.
A dusting of snow,
weird.
we lose our minds.
Yeah.
We don't.
Roads were closed for like 48 hours, and people were not leaving their houses. Schools closed down. Kids were home. Brent like couldn't play for a week because his daycare was closed.
All the parents hate to see snow come in that have school-age children.
Yeah. So basically, I got these paddles, played a couple sessions with them. Brent drilled a little bit with them, and then they were taken from us on accident, and then we couldn't get them.
I feel like we should get some like free membership out of that or something, right?
Lane, damn it, Lane. Give us some pickleball membership.
Give us a month free for delaying our review.
Steeler, Brent, Lane. Okay, yeah, so we have 4 shapes. Engage. This is very classic Engage, is what I'll say. So they have the new Pursuit Pro 1 wide body. The 6.0 is the wider version.
The thicker.
Yeah,
thicker version.
Yeah, oh, sorry, yeah, thicker version. Wide body is wider. 6.0 is thicker. I forget what they're honest, like, thickness measurements.
It's like 15 point
something.
Millimeter.
It's almost 16 millimeters, just shy of 60 millimeters. Yeah. And then the non 6.0 version, which is like this wide body here, is right around 13. It's their thinner version, right?
Yeah.
And then they have wide bodies. Then they also have the hybrids, which is the Pursuit Pro 1 6.0 and non 6.0 hybrids here.
Is that a relatively new thing for Engage to make hybrid paddles, or have they been making some hybrids?
Somewhat. Yeah, okay. So most large brands haven't done a ton of hybrid paddles. It's a lot of like these mid and maybe newer companies that do hybrid shapes, but they do have. So one of my favorite paddles that Engage has is the Pursuit V2.0. So, and this is a good point you bring up, Brent. So the Pursuit Pro 1. So if it has Pro in the name, and there's a lot of nuance to the word salad here.
Engage, you could do a little better with paddle naming.
Yeah, so MX is their elongated shape before the Pros, and their EX is the standard shape. Now they're going to change the Pro 1s to either elongated, wide body, or standard shape.
Oh, good.
So that's really nice. 6.0 is wide. Non 6.0 is not as, wide. Thickness is thick.
See, now you're confusing us, Engage.
Damn it. Thick 6.0 is thick. Non 6.0 is less thick. But the Pursuit V2.0, if it doesn't have the Pro in the name, it doesn't have. So they added some edge cell reinforcement. Similar to like what Paddle Tech and Spartus has done, and when they fill the cells with stuff.
Yeah.
And it's also a little bit more squishy type stuff. It's not clay, but it kind of encircles the perimeter of the Pro model Pursuit paddles, and they have an extra like adhesive layer like in the edge guard. I can see it right here. So you can see like in the edge guard, you see this like white tape.
Oh yeah.
Just like hold it up here, and I got some of the foam that came out with it here. So the edge guard, and I've taken these apart. I've cut them open, and I'll show it up for the camera here too, actually. So this is a Pursuit Pro 1 elongated core, so it's black. I'm not convinced on the extra squishiness of it, to be honest, just filling with the other cores. But you can see, and some of the edge filling has come off with the edge guard, but it's very squishy. Like if you press it, it's not quite edge foam like in the terms of like thermoform paddles. It's not like Cheeto, where if you bend it, it will snap.
Yeah.
But it's not clay. It's kind of somewhat of an in between. So that serves the purpose of vibration dampening and a little bit of stability, and it kind of encircles. So that's what the Pro 1s have versus the V2.0, which doesn't have the Pro in the name, which is just the black core without the extra little adhesive layer in the edge guard and the squishy foam reinforcement. So it's not their first hybrid, but it's their first Pro 1 hybrid.
Okay, so the Pro is more their premium Pro line, and this other one there lacks some of the extra foam and other enhancements that the Pro line has.
Yep, that's
I'm assuming
correct.
It's cheaper as well.
Yeah, that's correct.
Okay.
Yeah, and I'll say that. And that's a good point, because I'll get to that the Pro 1 hybrids, so they're like $260, $270, something like that, list price. You can use the code 20Dustin, so not the normal channels code. That'll get you 20% off. So that brings it down to close to $200. And they have the 30-day, use it as much as you want return policy, and they have a lifetime warranty, which I think is really undervalued. So in the unlikely event that these core crush, they'll replace it for you. But And that also comes not only with the Pro 1 models, but with the V2.0. The Pro 1s, all of these paddles, I think, and tell me if you agree, Brent, I think they're all very light. They feel really light in the hands, and the swing weights of all these are very low.
Yeah.
The twist weights of some of them are okay. But some of the twist weights are low. They could every single one in this series benefits from weight. I think most of them have the room on swing weight to add weight for stability purposes. They're very poppy, I think. Not quite as poppy as Paddletech's, but maybe just a little bit lower. They're large cells, so they're 10 millimeter cells, so they have kind of that Gen 1, squishy feel. Some of the thinner models may be a little bit more stiff without weight feeling, just because they're not as stable on the edge. My favorite here is the Pursuit Pro 1 wide body. I haven't decided, to be truthful, if this is going to be my new favorite wide body power paddle. Which before was probably the Paddletech ESQ-C. I think the Paddletech ESQ-C is a little bit more stable. Stock. So they have the edge.
Did they put the little beads?
That's correct. Okay. Yeah, they use, so the thicker versions have clay with metal weighting. And the thinner versions have clay, but without the metal weighting, at least as far as my dissections have shown me. These just have that foam. So it's not quite as heavy. I think it dampens vibrations okay. If they went a little bit more dense on their foam, I think that wouldn't hurt them.
Yeah.
But it needs weight. I think these are a little bit faster. The Pro 1 wide body is faster. Because they were taken from us and we haven't had the extensive play that we'd like, I didn't get to hit them alongside like their Pursuit Pro EX and some of those other, previous Pursuit models.
Yeah.
So I can't compare them directly like that. But I'll say the Pro 1 wide body non-thick version is my favorite. It's very fast, a classic engaged feel. It's Gen 1, wide cell, whatever. Lifetime warranty, just north of $200. I know that we drilled on the same day with these.
We did, yeah.
Tell me what you think. You played a little bit more with the hybrids. Is that right?
Yeah, I played with both of the hybrids, the 6.0 and the non-6.0, so the almost 16 millimeter and the around 13 millimeter. I tried the 13 millimeter one first, and with no weight, that one had a lot of feedback for me.
I know you said that.
That didn't feel great.
Brent put it down really quick.
I did. I think I played maybe 3 or 4 minutes with it, and I was like, no, it needs weight to make it feel better to me. And then I switched it for the 6.0, the thicker version, and that one felt much better. It had a more plush feel, less feedback from it, and so that's the one that I preferred in a no weight setup. I think that would change if I would have added 0.3, 0.4 ounces of weight to the thinner one. I think that would have made them more comparable, and I could have gotten to use the extra maybe pop that the thinner one had and enjoy it. But I just didn't enjoy it with no weight.
I think they're so light, the hybrids, that even with the edge foam and the added adhesive layer in the edge, and they also put a counterbalance, like a little weight in the handle. They wrap it in a little bit of really hard, edge metal weighting, comparable to what Spartus does. But
it's interesting because they're pretty light. So why would you need the counterbalance down there?
I don't know. Maybe if people want to weight it up, and maybe we're reviewers, so maybe they want to. I don't know if they selectively picked paddles to send to us or not, or if it just happened that we got really light ones. But if you add weight, there's some counterbalance weight in the handle. But
that makes sense. If you produce a pretty light and low swing weight paddle, people are probably going to add weight to it. So you can go ahead and put a little counterbalance in there for them. And
for hybrids, I still like the V2.0, the Pursuit V2.0. The price is a big thing. Yeah. That if you feel it, so holding this in your hand, Brent, I've cut some of the edge guard off to look inside there, but it feels to me almost similar. It has a very similar layout to the Honolulu J2K, but that one's almost $100 cheaper. It's not that much different from the hybrid Pursuit Pro 1 6.0s. I really like the Pursuit V2.0, and last year it was in my top 10 of the year. Yeah. As a hidden kind of gem, great value paddle. I still feel that way. I don't think the Pro 1 6.0s surpass the V2.0s. I think the wide body is great, but that one, it just doesn't have the edge foam, and I don't think it's significant.
Is this heftier? Is it heavier? Do you know?
I don't know.
This one still feels lighter than
it might be.
one.
It might be.
But that could
I
just
don't
be...
know.
It
That just
doesn't
could be the
feel
paddle, I suppose.
significantly heavier or lighter, but it just feels
It has
a
less
little
internal
different.
components, so it doesn't have the counterbalance in the handle, and it doesn't have the edge foam.
Maybe it's
But-
because it doesn't have the counterbalance.
Yeah.
So this one feels a
Oh,
little
yeah.
more
Yeah, it could
like
be.
the weight's distributed
Yeah,
further
it
up.
still is pretty good on the pop.
It is, yeah. Oh, well, no, I don't know about the pop. I was talking about
Oh,
the
yeah,
weight.
yeah. But, I mean, you're not going to be surprised with how the face feels. It feels the same as all the others. It's the same face. Hybrids, I would say I go for the V2.0 for Engage. And then the wide bodies, I really like the thinner Pursuit Pro1. It probably needs a little bit of weight, but it's so fast and so poppy. So that's my take so far. We'll return maybe next week when we've had more time to be able to play with these. But that's where we're at right now. All right. For the sake of brevity, we're just going to cover our pair of shoes that we got.
Yeah.
So we got the Pro XR, what do they call these?
SQAIRZ.
Yeah, the SQAIRZ XRZs. Is that right?
I think it's a collaboration between SQAIRZ, which make like golf shoes, and they make some other shoes too, and Pro XR.
Yeah.
And 𝑳𝒊𝒏𝒌� evidently had a very prominent hand in helping design and test these.
I rarely get excited about things like shoes. I've seen some of the pickleball shoes that are out there, and I think they're kind of plain.
And
You know what I
they're
mean?
yeah. So like usually they fall in two camps. Like if it's a pickleball shoe from a big manufacturer, it's in my experience usually just a shittier version of their premier tennis shoe.
Yeah.
Or it's just if it's not that, it's just an odd combination of shoe design choices.
Yeah, these are interesting for me. They passed the look test, except one of my main gripes with all shoe companies everywhere, and I don't know why they do this, is the color scheme. So, because I go to UNC, I hate that the baby blue color is always only in women's. So
That's more of a Duke blue.
Yeah, Brent and I both have the dark blue.
Yeah.
And this is clearly we're baby blue folks, but the dark blue comes in men's and baby blue is women's. That's fine. But so these have a number of interesting things about them, and I'll say that Brent and I have only had a limited number of like sessions with these so far. I've only had a couple. So full formulations on durability and how they function and little nuances pending.
Yeah.
But they have a square top, so you get these through Pickleball Central. 10% off with PB Med. I think so they list for like $160. And 10% off, what is the math there? Like $144. Am I doing that right? Yeah. Which is like along the lines of like a premier shoe.
Yeah,
so
pretty much
you'd
is.
expect these to perform well. They have a square top, and they have kind of shaped outsoles. And then one thing that I really like is they have the did you notice
I thought that was really
the little
interesting.
on the laces? They
I like
have the
that.
little rubber, stops. So they have a really grippy, I don't even know what they call it, on the laces.
Yeah, it just once you tie them, it feels like they're gonna stay put because it has this kind of sort of
It's
sticky
like a
rubber.
non-slide rubbery type thing to the laces.
Yeah.
And the kind of the main thing with these shoes is they have a wide, pad of the foot region. So then that's for better or worse. If you're a person who has a really narrow foot and you don't like a lot of space, you're
That's
not
me.
you're not going to like that with these because they have a wide, pad of the foot region on the outside, but it does have a lot of room to move your foot around, and I felt very stable with it. I actually played for the first time with these. We had that giant snowstorm here in North Carolina, and I was helping somebody. It's actually kind of embarrassing. Helping somebody get unstuck in their truck, and I was like bouncing on the back of their truck to give them traction.
Yeah.
And then I bounced off. And I rolled my ankle. Bounced off. So then the very next day I played with these shoes, and I was really nervous about the extra room.
Yeah.
But I didn't notice. It felt very stable to me. But if you want something that closes in and compresses your foot a lot, that's probably not these. You've got a lot of room on the outside. It is very stable. But you've got, and it's kind of got a clothy top side on the toe portion. Clothy top side portion, a sticky, like non-slidey laces and a roomy toe. I think they're good, but durability is like a thing. They've got reinforced outsoles. So we'll see, like with the sliding foot of like the outside dinks and stuff, what comes from that.
And supposedly 6-month outsole warranty. I'm pretty sure is what I read.
Yeah, that's right. Yeah, so they'll replace it once.
Yeah.
They have a 6-month replace it once warranty. I like them so far as a person who wears ankle braces every single time they play. Cons of these, north of $100. I usually spend around $100 on shoes, but I replace them frequently. So if this has an increased durability, which I haven't been able to answer yet, nor will we until time, happens, I don't know. I think they look good.
Yeah.
They look sharp, and they're very comfy. They have Ortholite, insoles.
Very cushiony and soft.
Yeah, they are soft. Yeah, they feel good. These are probably my favorite shoes yet. But if they
like
wear
pickleball specific shoes,
and for me, of any shoe, but if they wear out in like a few weeks, then it's like these are worthless.
Right.
So I can't speak to that.
Yeah.
I can't speak to that yet.
Given the 6-month outsole warranty, I would think you would get, at worst, like maybe 3 months out of them. I wouldn't think it would be a week's time frame. So I'm hopeful there.
Yeah,
but
I typically, as a frame of reference, I typically wear out my shoes in about 3 months or less, and I don't play that much as I'd like. I don't play every day.
How much are you sliding those feet around?
A lot. You
gotta pick them up.
I think my right toe wears out the fastest because I slide on my
left-handed
dinks.
I have noticed you do a lot of, yep.
Yeah, it's so slick. It's so good. But I slide my right toe really well.
Yeah.
Textbook is the way to describe it.
Toe drag.
So the right big toe is what's going to be the durability for me on these shoes and any shoe.
It'll be interesting to see because it's, supposedly they're designed for the pickleball player in mind, and it's more lateral movement versus up and down like you would for tennis.
Yeah.
So,
have you liked them so far? What do you think? You can say if you don't.
No.
Either way.
Pleasantly surprised. So I have a very narrow foot, very narrow heel, and so shoes for me are always difficult. And one of my feet is approximately half a size smaller than the other.
I didn't know if you wanted to bring that up.
Yeah, no, I'm fine with that. So it makes just finding shoes that work for me really hard. So I'm usually not very open to trying different shoes because it's so hard to find ones that work for my feet. Typically, I'm a 𝑴6 gel resolution person.
Oh, interesting.
It is narrow enough to accommodate my foot. I can wear a size 12, and it doesn't make my shorter foot feel like it's just being swallowed. And so, and it accommodates my narrow heel too. I can lock it down in there and it feels fine. I've recently been trying out other shoes even before these came in. So I've tried out the Mizuno Wave Enforce Tour 2 and the Babolat, the Babolat Jet Mach 3s. And that's been all in the past 2 weeks. When I tried these squares on, I was like, oh, these feel much more comfortable than any of the three that I just mentioned.
I don't care who makes them. They're very comfy.
They're very comfortable.
They are.
And they fit, besides the toe box, they fit my narrow foot well. So the ankle, it doesn't slide up and down. I think with the rubber little pieces on the laces, it helps me kind of lock it in, and it doesn't move a ton. And they feel pretty light. Like, I don't know if they actually are light, but they feel light compared to a stability shoe like the 𝑴6.
Yeah, it's like beefy.
Yeah.
Interesting.
And so they did feel light on my feet. The only issue that I've run into so far is that wide toe box. It feels very wide for my narrow foot. So when I change directions at the kitchen or need to kind of push off, I felt my foot slide a couple of times. Like inside the shoe, it slid into like the side of the shoe, and that's kind of an unnerving feeling because it feels like you're gonna like roll your ankle or fall or something. And so that was something that I noticed with this that I didn't notice with the others because of that wide toe box. I think if you don't have a super narrow foot, it probably works really well, and it's designed well for that. But for my foot, at least for the times I have played with it, which has been 2 sessions, there were a few instances in each session where I felt my foot slide on the inside. And then whatever this top material is cloth,
like
stains super easy. My kids,
I bet it would.
My kids were eating dinner, and I still had these on from playing pickleball. I changed out of my clothes, but I still had my pickleball shoes on. I'm just kidding. And I think my youngest had like, I don't know if it's a meatball or something tomato based sauce.
Meatball?
And he
like meatball on your shoe?
No. He slung some of the tomato based sauce, and it landed right on top. And I didn't see it for like 5 minutes, and then I looked down. I'm like, shit. And so I go to try to clean it, and it's just there.
You're wearing your shoes actually today.
I can't contort my foot enough to show you, but it's still
It is there. It's
there,
not wild,
right?
It is
It's
there.
there.
Yeah, that's not coming off. I can see that.
No,
yeah,
it's not
white.
coming off.
It's
Yeah.
a white cloth. You're right.
It is.
Yeah.
So it's going to stain easy.
The whole thing is not like rubbery. Yeah, because that's a good point. Because the edges right here, the reinforced part, where you would kind of wear if you were to slide your foot.
Yeah.
Yeah, those are reinforced and they're rubbery. But then the top is cloth and breathy, which has the downside of staining.
Yeah, I like it being breathable on the top. But yeah.
That's a good point.
Yeah.
That's a good point.
I guess if you're one of those people that take your shoes off after you're done playing, like at the courts, I know a lot of people that come like in Crocs, change into their shoes and then change out of them. They're way more prepared and on time than I am. I just come with the shoes on.
Damn spaghetti with these shoes.
Be careful if you have a kid that wants to throw spaghetti sauce.
Yeah, don't be in your spaghetti with these shoes.
But overall, I like them. We'll see if I can get used to the wider toe box.
Yeah, I think that's a good point. Yeah, and I think that's by design. If you want a lighter shoe that is reinforced around the toes but has a wider toe box, that's a big thing. If you like a wide toe box, this is cool. But if not, then it's not what you want.
Yeah.
And then, the grippy laces, I don't know how easy those are to come by, but they're pretty cool too. And I felt like they were ultra stable. Don't be eating your spaghetti with them because they are white. Everything has a base white color from what I've seen. Other than that, we'll return back. I like these, so I'll probably keep wearing them. So
Yeah,
I'll
I'm
let
gonna
you know
wear
what
them.
durability is like.
I'm gonna wear them as like my daily like walk around shoe too.
Yeah.
And just
They're very comfy.
yeah. I mean, I usually use like insoles as well, like Pinnacle or Power Step insoles. So I'm gonna put those in and see how like maybe my foot feels more stable when I have the insole in.
Interesting. Yeah.
So we'll see. We'll
Brent's
report
got
back.
some weird feet. We'll see.
I do have weird feet.
The weird foot guy can
Weird
like
foot.
them, then we'll know.
Narrow, one side's bigger than the other. But yeah, that and the some of these paddles we need to hit more to
Yeah,
give.
we really do. A lot of these will get second looks.
Yeah,
further looks
especially the
next week.
Proton because
Yeah, the Proton needs a break-in. The
Yeah.
Engage needs just more further evaluation, and we'll see.
yeah.
So.
And I'm gonna give the Franklin another chance.
Yeah. Yeah, you should, Brent.
Oh, I do. Yeah,
You
yeah, I
should.
am.
All right. Okay. Well, thanks, everybody. This has been the 10th episode of the PB Med Podcast.
Hope you enjoyed.
Here with Dustin, and Brent, who's the second best guy on this podcast, but we're grateful to have him nonetheless.
Just don't look at our dupers. That doesn't really jive
I'll
with
erase
Dustin's.
I'll erase that from what we're saying, but no, really, thanks everybody. Let us know if there's anything you guys want to see in the future, and we'll slap it on here. And hope you guys enjoy your week.